Morning Shine Campus. We are reading Planning the Sale of Personal Services and Think and Grow Rich. Intelligent planning is essential for success in any undertaking designed to accumulate riches. Here will be found detailed instructions to those who must begin the accumulation of riches by selling personal services. It should be encouraging to know that particularly all the great fortunes begin in the form of compensation for personal services or from the sale of ideas. What else, except ideas and personal services, would one not possess of property have to give in return for riches? Most leaders begin as followers. Broadly speaking, there are two types of people in the world. One type is known as leaders, and the other as followers. Decide at the outset whether you intend to become a leader in your chosen calling or remain a follower. The difference in compensation is vast. The follower cannot reasonably expect the compensation to which a leader is entitled, although many followers make the mistake of expecting such pay. It is no disgrace to be a follower. On the other hand, it is no credit to remain a follower. Most great leaders begin in the capacity of followers. They became great leaders because they were intelligent followers. With few exceptions, the man who cannot follow a leader intelligently cannot become an efficient leader. The man who can follow a leader most efficiently is usually the man who develops into leadership most rapidly. An intelligent follower has many advantages among the opportunity to acquire knowledge from his leader. The major attributes of leadership. The following factors of the following are important factors of leadership. So one, there has to be an unwavering courage based upon knowledge of self and of one's occupation. No follower wishes to be dominated by a leader who lacks self confidence and courage. No intelligent follower will be dominated by such a leader very long. Two, self control. The man who cannot control himself can never control others. Self control sets a mighty example for one's followers, which the more intelligent will emulate. Three, a keen sense of justice. Without a sense of fairness and justice, no leader can command and retain the respect of his followers. Four, definiteness of decision. The man who wavers in his decisions shows that he is not sure of himself, cannot lead others successfully. Five, definiteness of plans. The successful leader must plan his work and work his plan. A leader who moves by guesswork without practical definite plans is comparable to a ship without a rudder. Sooner or later, he will land on the rocks. Number six, the habit of doing more than paid for. One of the penalties of leadership is the necessity of willingness upon the part of the leader to do more than he requires his followers. Number seven, a pleasing personality. No slovenly, careless person can become a successful leader. Leadership calls for respect. Followers will not respect a leader who does not grade high on all the factors of a pleasing personality. Sympathy and understanding. The successful leader must be in sympathy with his followers. Moreover, he must understand them and their problems. Number nine, mastery of detail. Successful leadership calls for mastery of the details of the leader's position. Number 10, willingness to assume full responsibility. The successful leader must be willing to assume responsibility for the mistakes and the shortcomings of his followers. If he tries to shift this responsibility, he will not remain the leader. If one of his followers makes a mistake and shows himself incompetent, the leader must consider that he is who failed. 11. Cooperation. The successful leader must understand and apply the principle of cooperative effort and be able to induce his followers to do the same. Leadership calls for power, and power calls for cooperation. There are two forms of leadership. The first, and by far the most effective, is leadership by consent of and with the sympathy of the followers. The second leader is leadership by force without the consent and sympathy of the followers. History is filled with evidences that leadership by force cannot endure. The downfall and disappearance of dictators and kings is significant. It means that people will not follow forced leadership indefinitely. Napoleon, Mussolini, Hitler were examples of leadership by force. their leadership pass. Leadership by consent of the followers is the only brand which can endure. Men may follow the forced leadership temporarily, but they will not do so willingly. The new brand of leadership will embrace the 11 factors of leadership described in this chapter, as well as some other factors. The man who makes these the basis of his leadership will find abundant opportunity to lead in any walk of life. The 10 major causes of failure in relationship. We come now to the major faults of leaders who fail, because it is just as essential to know what not to do as it is to know what to do. So, number one, an inability to organize details. Efficient leadership calls for ability to organize and to master details. No genuine leader is ever too busy to do anything which may be required of him in his capacity as a leader. When a man, whether he is a leader or follower, admits that he is too busy to change his plans or to give attention to an emergency, he admits his inefficiency. The successful leader must be the master of all details connected with his position. That means, of course, that he must acquire the habit of relegating details to capable lieutenants. Number two, unwillingness to render humble service. Truly great leaders are willing, when occasion demands, to perform any sort of labor which they would ask another to perform. The greatest among ye shall be the servant of all, is a truth which all able leaders observe and respect. Number three, an expectation of pay for what they know instead of what they do with what they know, with that which they know. The world does not pay men for that which they know. It pays them for what they do or induce others to do. Fear of competition from followers. The leader who fears that one of his followers may take his position is practically sure to realize that fear sooner or later. The able leader trains understudies to whom he may delegate at will any of the details of his position. Only in this way may a leader multiply himself and prepare himself to be at many places and give attention to many things at one time. It is an internal truth that men receive more pay for their ability to get others to perform than they could possibly earn by their own efforts. An efficient leader may, through his knowledge of his job and the magnetism of his personality, greatly increase the efficiency of others and induce them to render more service and better service than they could render without his aid. Five, lack of imagination. Without imagination, the leader is incapable of meeting emergencies and of creating plans by which to guide his followers efficiently. Six, selfishness. The leader who claims all the honor for the work of his followers is sure to be met by resentment. The really great leader claims none of the honors. He is contented to see the honors when there are any. He is contented to see the honors when there are any go to his followers, because he knows that most men will work harder for commendation and recognition than they will for money alone. Seven, intemperance. Followers do not respect an intemperate leader. Moreover, intemperance is any of its various forms destroys the endurance and the vitality of all who indulge in it. Eight is disloyalty. Perhaps this should have come at the head of this list. The leader who is not loyal to his trust and to his associates, those above him and those below him, cannot long maintain his leadership. Disloyalty marks one of being less than the dust of the earth and brings down on one's head the contempt he deserves. Lack of loyalty is one of the major causes of failure in every walk of life. Number nine, emphasis of the authority of leadership. The efficient leader leads by encouraging and not by trying to instill fear in the hearts of his followers. The leader who tries to impress his followers with his authority comes within the category of leadership through force. If a leader is a real leader, he will have no need to advertise the fact except by his conduct, his sympathy, understanding, fairness, and a demonstration that he knows his job. Number 10, emphasis of title. The competent leader requires no title to give him the respect of his followers. The man who makes too much over his title generally has little else to emphasize. The doors to the office of the real leader are open to all who wish to enter, and his working quarters are free from formality or ostentation. os- Ostentation. These are among the more common of the causes of failure in leadership. Any one of these faults is sufficient to induce failure. Study the list carefully if you aspire to leadership and make sure that you are free of these faults. Some fertile fields in which new leadership will be required. Before leaving this chapter, your attention is called to a few of the fertile fields in which there has been a decline of leadership and in which the new type of leader may find an abundance of opportunity. First, in the field of politics, there is a most insistent demand for new leaders and a demand which indicates nothing less than an emergency. Second, the banking business is undergoing a reform. Third, industry calls for new leaders. The future leader of an industry to endure must regard himself as a quasi public official whose duty is to manage his trust in such a way that it will work hardship on no individual or group of individuals. Fourth, the religious leader of the future will be forced to give more attention to temporal needs of his followers in the solution of their economic and personal problems of the present, and less attention to the dead past the and the yet unborn future. Fifth, in the professions of law, medicine, and education, a new brand of leadership and to some extent new leaders will become a necessity. This is especially true in the field of education. The leader in the field must, in the future, find ways and means of teaching people how to apply knowledge they receive in school. He must deal more with practice and less with theory. Six, new leaders will be required in the field of journalism. These are but a few of the fields in which opportunities for new leaders and a new brand of leadership are now available. The world is undergoing a rapid change. This means that the media through which the changes in human habits are promoted must be adapted to the changes. The media here described are the ones which, more than any others, determine the trend of civilization, when and how to apply for a position. The information described here is the net result of many years of experience during which thousands of men and women were helped to market their services effectively. Experience has proved that the following media offer the most direct and effective methods of bringing the buyer and seller of personal services together. Number one, employment bureaus. Care must be taken to select any only reputable bureaus, the management of which can show adequate records of achievement of satisfactory results. There are comparatively few such bureaus. Two, advertising in newspapers, trade journals, magazines. Classified advertising may usually be relied upon to produce satisfactory results in the case of those who apply for clerical or ordinary salaried positions. Displaying advertising is more desirable in the case of those who seek executive connections. The copy to appear in the section of the paper which is most apt to come to the attention of the class of employer being sought. The copy should be prepared by an expert who understands how to inject sufficient selling qualities to produce replies. Three, personal letters of application directed to particular firms or individuals must most apt to need such services as are being offered. Letters should be neatly typed always and signed by hand. With the letter with the letter should be sent a complete brief or outline of the applicant's qualifications. Both the letter of application and the brief of experience of qualifications should be prepared by an expert. Applications through personal acquaintances. When possible, the applicant should endeavor to approach prospective employers through some mutual acquaintance. This method of approach is particularly advantageous in the case of those who seek executive connections and do not wish to appear to be peddling themselves. Number five, application in person. In some instances, It may be more effective if the applicant offers personally his services to prospective employers, in which event a complete written statement of qualifications for the position should be presented, for the reason that prospective employers often wish to discuss one's record with associates. Information to be supplied in a written brief. This brief should be prepared as carefully as a lawyer would prepare the brief of a case to be tried in court, unless the applicant is experienced in the preparation of such beliefs. An expert should be consulted and his services enlisted for this purpose. Successful merchants employ men and women who understand the art and the psychology of advertising to present the merits of their merchandise. One who has personal services for sale should do the same. The following information should appear in the brief. Number one, education. State briefly, but definitely the schooling you have had and in what subjects you specialize in school, giving the reasons for the specialization. Experience. If you have had experience in connection with positions similar to the one you seek, describe it fully. State names and addresses of former employees, but be sure to bring out clearly in special experience you may have had, which you would equip you to fill the position you seek. References, particularly every business firm desires to know all about the previous records and antecedents, etc., of prospective employees who seek positions of responsibility. Attached to your brief photostatic copies of letters from former employees, teachers under whom you studied, prominent people whose judgment may be relied upon. Photograph of self attached to your brief, a recent unmounted photograph of yourself. Apply for a specific position. Avoid application for a position without describing exactly what particular position you seek. Never apply for just a position that indicates you lack special qualifications. State your qualifications for the particular position for which you apply. Give full details as to the reason you believe you are qualified for the particular position you seek. This is the most important detail of your application. It will determine more than anything else what consideration you receive. Offer to go to work on probation. This may appear to be a radical suggestion, but experience has proved that it seldom fails to win at least a trial. If you are sure of your qualifications, and trial is all you need. Incidentally, such an offer indicates that you have confidence in your ability to fill the position you seek. It must it is most convincing. Make clear the fact that your offer is based upon your confidence in your ability to fill the position, your confidence in your prospective employer's decision to employ you after trial, your determination to have the position. And number eight, knowledge of your prospective employer's business. Before applying for a position, do sufficient research in connection with the business to familiarize yourself thoroughly with the business and indicate in your brief the knowledge you have acquired in this field. This will be impressive as it will indicate that you have imagination and a real interest in the position you seek. Remember that it is not the lawyer who knows the most law, but the one who best prepares his case who wins. If your case is properly prepared and presented, your victory will have been more than half at the outset. Do not be afraid of making your brief too long. Employers are just as much interested in purchasing the services of well qualified applicants as you are in securing employment. In fact, the success of most successful employers is due in the main to the ability to select well qualified lieutenants. They want all the information available. Remember another thing, neatness in the preparation of your brief will indicate that you are a painstaking person. I have helped to prepare briefs for clients which were so striking and out of the ordinary that they resulted in the employment of application without a personal interview. When your brief has been completed, have it neatly bounded and lettered or typed similar to the following. Change names each time brief is shown. The personal touch is sure to command attention. Have your brief neatly typed or mimeographed on the finest paper you can obtain and bound with heavy paper of the book cover variety, the binder to be changed in the proper firm, name to be inserted if it is to be shown to more than one company. Your photograph should be pasted on one of the pages of your brief. So some of these instructions are kind of old. Successful salesmen groom themselves with care. They understand that the first impressions are last in your brief as your salesman. Give it a good suit of clothes so it will stand it out in bold contrast to anything your prospective employer ever saw. In the way of an application for a position, if the position you seek is worth having, it is worth going after with care. Moreover, if you sell yourself to an employer in any manner that impresses him with your individuality, you probably will receive more money for your services from the very start than you would if you applied for employment in the usual conventional way. If you seek employment through an advertising agency or an employment agency, have the agent use copies of your brief in marketing your services. This will help you to gain preference for you both with the agent and the prospective employer. All right, so we'll pick up here next week. We'll be in April, and we will see you guys later.